name is Manousos. I am not one of them. I wish to save the world.
This episode really took us on a journey of suffering. Both Manousos and Carol, they're on a mission to cure the virus and save the world, and they go through hell to do it. Pain, hardship, even risking death. But maybe the world doesn't need saving, or maybe saving the world doesn't really mean or look like what they think it does. Some might call this episode slow-paced, that not a lot happened, yada yada, but there's so much depth and character growth that's packed into it. So, let's break it down. So, a lot of this episode was about the tolls of being alone. We see both the physical and psychological effects of being alone played out with Carol and Manousos. They've been pretty firm in their viewpoint about this virus and the hive, rejecting this new world, seeing it as a blight on humanity, something that needs to be cured to be saved. And being the only person in your little corner of the earth who feels this way, either voluntarily or forcibly alone, well, it's gonna take a toll on you. We're a social species. We're meant to be part of a tribe. We didn't survive or evolve to what we are today by going it alone. We need others. We need numbers. And so, to start off with Carol, we see the psychological impact. The hive leaving Carol completely alone, it isn't just self-preservation on their part. It's kind of a form of psychological punishment, whether they intend it or not. They've basically put her in solitary confinement, and it's been proven to be something that's extremely damaging to a person's well-being. Social isolation, it can trigger paranoia, hallucinations, thoughts of self-harm, extreme stress. Studies even show that social deprivation, it lights up the brain the same way physical pain does. So it's not good, it's bad, and we see that with Carol. I mean, even the United Nations, they consider solitary confinement over 15 days inhumane, even torturous. Now, at first, when Carol's alone, she kind of tries to just not care, do what Mr. Diabate does, and just indulge in whatever whim she has. Try to have a little fun, but it doesn't really work. It's ironic that the fireworks she picks up is called happy fireworks. And yeah, I mean, traditionally that's something that should make you happy. I mean, yay, fun, fireworks, but it's anything but fun for her. It's depressing. A fireworks show alone might be kind of entertaining for a moment, but without anyone there, it's meaningless. And the same thing goes with the scratcher she buys just for fun. I mean, she fucking wins $10,000, but who cares? Money, it's lost all its meaning. And the fancy dinner that she has, well, it just makes her more sad. I mean, she's remembering all the times that she spent with Helen. Sharing is what makes life enjoyable. There's no one to share the moment with, and without that, even the fun things, they fall flat. Now, there's that scene where she's howling with the wolves, and it isn't just like this drunk, funny moment. Well, at least I don't think so. It feels symbolic. Carol, she's the lone wolf, calling out back to the pack, wanting connection, wanting to belong to something again. But even then, when she gets a little too crazy with the howling, the wolves, they stop and they get real quiet. They too alienate her. She keeps calling the hive with petty requests, and it's never enough though. Now, after nearly 40 days in isolation, she finally breaks. She starts the day off with a screw everything attitude, smashing windows with golf balls, blowing stuff up with fireworks, really externalizing the destruction that she feels inside. This all has gotta feel really extra bad for her. I mean, she's been kind of through this before. Now remember, as a young girl, her own parents and community alienated her for her sexuality, and now in this post-apocalyptic world, she's alienated again, not just by the other survivors, but by the hive itself. Alone, she's left to dwell, feeling worthless and really further degrading her self-esteem, breaking her will to live, barely caring if a firework ends her. The hive and Carol, they're kind of playing this back and forth game. While isolation seems to have really broken her aggression, at least in the meantime, deep down she's still scheming. She's just playing nice because that's what she has to do to survive, to get people back. She can't take being alone anymore. Solitary, it can look effective in the short term, but even research shows that solitary confinement often backfires. It increases the risk that people are going to repeat negative behaviors, go right back into jail after getting out. And it's interesting the way Carol tries to get the hive back. She doesn't just call them up and leave a heartfelt message begging them to come back. Instead, she makes a giant sign in paint on the ground. Now, Vince Gilligan, the creator of the show, he said in an interview that the hive, well, they do actually love and care about Carol as they say they do. And he's quoted as saying, "I realized it's kind of like the most patient mom in the world, instructing their little infant toddler. They might say, 'I hate you, mommy,' but you don't really take it seriously. It doesn't hurt your feelings. You know they're just acting out. At a certain point, for their own good and for yours, maybe you give them a little time out." And hearing Vince talk about this dynamic this way, well, he's right. Carol is a lot like a kid. Painting a message instead of calling, it feels emotionally immature to me. Stubborn, indirect, unable to say out loud, "I need you and I'm sorry." She wants them back, but she can't bring herself to verbalize it. And a part of that, I think, is because she's still mad. She still wants to find a cure and to get back at the hive. Now with Manousos, we see more of the physical effects of being alone. He refuses fresh food and water. He exhausts his body to the maximum. That whole trek through the Darien Gap is insane. As the hive told us, it's over 100 kilometers or 62 miles with no marked trails, over 100 degrees out and extremely humid, no clean water, snakes, spiders, insects that are venomous, and of course the chunga palms, the spiky medieval torture-looking ass trees, covered in bacteria that can kill if you're wounded by them. And he braves it all, taking on the worst kind of physical toll that you can imagine. And at the end of Manousos' journey, he's basically on his deathbed after falling into the spiky tree. When the hive arrives to save Manousos, he rolls over and kind of waves his hand to the sky.
Cuídate, y cualquier cosa que necesites, solo mándanos un saludo hacia el cielo.
Now, more than likely, this is just a normal reaction to looking directly up at the sun and the wind from the helicopter, but I can't help but think this is the hive's excuse to help him when he inevitably wakes up angry. It totally reminds me of the scene in the Disney movie Aladdin when Aladdin's drowning in the water and the genie, he can't help him unless he makes a wish. And so Aladdin, he doesn't actually really make a wish, but his head bobs up and down and the genie uses that as justification to take action. I think it's going to be similar with the hive. Now, we've talked a lot about how the hive twists things. They kind of lie sort of indirectly by omission or skirting around the truth. They use semantics and the like. And this is just another example of how they work around things, are able to gather consent or at least kind of justify things in their own hive mind. So maybe this is just another clue that there will be more sneaky behavior from the hive and potentially directly related to the consent needed for the stem cells and the whole joining. Now about Manousos, he's clearly religious, at least to some extent. You see that he has a cross in his home and La Virgen del Carmen hanging from his rearview mirror. With Paraguay's history of Jesuit-led colonization in the 1500s, Catholicism remains deeply rooted in the culture there and part of who Manousos is. And Manousos' whole journey of physical suffering is reminiscent of the temptation of Jesus Christ. Now, Jesus, he spent 40 days alone in the wilderness. No food, no water, surrounded by wild beasts. And Manousos, well, we see he leaves around day 8 post-infection, and by day 48 is when the hive finds him. So he also spent 40 days on his own, barely eating or drinking, completely alone, surrounded by dangerous wildlife too. Now, after Jesus' 40 days, Satan tempts him 3 times, first with food, knowing that he's starving, then by urging him to kind of harm himself to prove God will save him, and then finally by offering him all the kingdoms of the world in exchange for worship of Satan. And Jesus, he refuses every time. The hive is like the devil tempting Manousos, and he will refuse them too, their food, their medical help, and the comforts they offer, the same kingdoms of the world that Mr. Diabate is happy to enjoy. We even see him fishing for food to survive, and fish is very famously associated with Jesus, like the ekthys, or Jesus fish symbol that you see on cars, and various scriptures about Jesus offering fish or teaching to fish. And then there's this recurring theme about stealing when it comes to Manousos. He pays for all the gas he takes, and he refuses to just take things despite everything kind of being up for grabs. I mean, it's the end of the world and everything, right? Maybe it's because he is deeply religious, thou shalt not steal and all that.
Nada en este planeta es de ustedes. No pueden darme nada, porque todo lo que ustedes tienen es robado.
And the Hive, they've stolen the lives of all humans on this earth. Even those immune, like Manousos, had their lives snatched away from them in one fell swoop.
I am is Manousos olvidado. I am not one of them. I wish to serve your world.
Now, he keeps repeating his little mantra. I know I'm not the only one who immediately thought of Inigo Montoya in The Princess Bride.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Inigo devoted his life to a single purpose, avenging his father, a life that was stolen from him. And like Inigo, Manousos is driven by one purpose too, to avenge all the lives the Hive has stolen, including his mother's. So this whole stealing thing, it becomes his sole purpose in life at this point, to right that wrong. He's not going to take part of that at all. But going back to La Virgen del Carmen that Manousos had in his car, it's the Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus. She's often meant to be a symbol of protection for travelers, so it's kind of funny how he safely survived alone on his travels up until the point he burns the Virgin Mary with his car. I mean, he probably should have taken that shit with him when he went on his hike in the Darien Gap. The Virgin Mary is also associated with purgatory. Those who are her devout followers have the opportunity to be saved from purgatory by her. In a way, it's kind of like the survivors are living in a sort of purgatory. They're in limbo of joining the Hive or saving the world. But I guess it begs to question, which version is heaven and which is hell? Is peace on earth and unity and all that stuff that the Hive has, is it actually better than all the horrible shit that happens when humans are humans if we were to find a cure? With Manousos destroying the Virgin Mary, maybe it's a sign that he and the rest of humanity, well, they're doomed either way. All these connections to religion and Christianity, they got me thinking. I'm going to take you guys on a little bit of a tangent. I've been listening to the books in the sci-fi series Hyperion. If you haven't read them, I highly recommend. They are awesome. There's a part in the third novel, Endymion, where they talk about humanity and evolution. The idea is that humans haven't evolved just because of DNA and being human. It's consciousness, and that's a gift from God, part of a greater design in the universe that drives our evolution. The novels, they take quotes from this real-life French priest, Pierre Teilhard De Chardin, who was one of the biggest influences on tying science and theory of evolution to Christianity and kind of getting some of the churches to agree with the theory of evolution. Now, Teilhard, he believed that evolution requires the unification of consciousness, that we don't evolve alone, it happens as a collective. The goal of evolution, in his view, is reaching this supreme unified consciousness, which is becoming one with God. And so I can't help but draw parallels to this whole line of thinking and the hive mind.
We are, however, beneficiaries of extraterrestrial technology.
And that the virus, this gift from aliens or God, is the next step of evolution for humanity, for our consciousness to reach that next level. And though people like Carol and Manousos, they resist it because it's different, it's not quite human anymore, for better or for worse, maybe it is the next step, the next version or species in our long line of ancestors. Now, Teilhard also argued that evolution is voluntary. Isolation and marginalization, it blocks it. Humanity can reach physical and psychic unity, but only if individuals consent.
It's kind of a psychic glue capable of binding us all together.
In Pluribus, that's exactly what's happening. The immune, like Carol and Manousos, they refuse to join, so full unification, it can't happen yet. I think to whoever created the virus, and maybe even the hive itself, the starvation and death of individual bodies, it isn't necessarily harmful or detracting from their end state or goal. Those who died, their consciousness and minds are already joined and continue to live on, so to speak. The physical body, it's less important. All the suffering we see, Carol's mental torment, Manousos' physical struggle, it's all part of the journey of evolution. Painful, but necessary. Part of the universe's design. I want to talk a little bit more about the contrast between Carol and Manousos and their whole approach with the hive. One of their first real interactions with said hive is basically identical. Both of them refuse their help and the water. But that's where the similarities kind of end. Manousos, he's hardcore. He's rigid in his resolve to shut out the hive. Carol, on the other hand, while she's still stubborn, she at least talks to them, accepts their help when she needs it. I think Carol has obviously lived a little bit more of a cushy life. She's a famous author. She's jet-setting around, staying in fancy ice hotels and shit. She's living in a beautiful home with Helen supporting and kind of catering to her. Manousos, on the other hand, is still watching VHS tapes on a CRT TV, fixing cars, using ham radios, and, cauterizing his own wounds in the jungle. That alone makes you wonder what kind of life he's lived. Maybe there's something way rougher than what we know yet about how he's lived his life, like maybe he was part of a militia or something. You can also see a difference in how they treat other people's stuff. Carol, she takes what she needs, cars, groceries, gas station supplies, she even breaks windows, while Manousos, he won't take anything without paying. He'd rather eat expired-ass dog food with an IOU or sleep on a church floor. He won't do anything that he wouldn't have done before the apocalypse, like take or damage other people's stuff. So is this about morals or maybe hope? Carol's deeply pessimistic. Maybe she already believes the old world is gone for good, even as she fights the hive. Manousos, he seems fueled by the sheer belief that the world will be saved and it will go right back to the way it was. But there's also another way to look at it, adaptability. Carol is adapting to the reality of how the world is now. And I think Carol, she slowly realizes something important. Although she's lonely and hurt, especially after learning the other immune are building a community without her, well, she also learns you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar. The immune who worked with the hive learned far more about what they're up to than what she ever did going at it alone. So when Carol finally breaks down and begs the hive to come back, yeah, a part of that is loneliness, but it's strategy too. I think the next episode title says it all. Charm offensive. She's done playing defense. She's now going to charm them, manipulate them, work with them, gather the intel, and then eventually strike. This key difference in Manousos and Carol's approach, it may be what it takes to change everything. Okay, so some other final thoughts. We got to talk about Carol's Georgia O'Keeffe painting. She already owned a print, but she visits the museum and steals the real thing. If you're not familiar with Georgia O'Keeffe, she's best known for her flower paintings that lean heavily into femininity. The shapes and the details, they often echo female anatomy. And though O'Keeffe herself pushed back on the sexual interpretations of her work, they definitely kind of look like vulvas. She's often seen as a pioneer of feminism, and there were rumors of romantic relationships with women that she denied. It does make sense that Carol would connect with her art. O'Keeffe's work, it frames sexuality and femininity as something natural, not forced or filtered through a male gaze or something to be questioned. It's just part of nature itself. And even if flowers resemble vulvas, that's because they're accurate. The pollen and the inner structures are the plant's sex organs. Now, the specific painting Carol takes is the Belladonna. It shows two forms stacked together, which already feels symbolic, like connection, intimacy, and even two becoming one. Its full name is Atropos Belladonna. Atropa comes from Atropos, one of the three fates in Greek mythology, the goddess who cuts the thread of life. Belladonna, it literally means beautiful woman. This doesn't feel like a coincidence. I think it's hard not to see Carol in that. Up until this point, she's been locked in, convinced that the hive is a disease and that humanity needs saving. So what if that belief is actually what ends humanity? Is she the beautiful but deadly figure here? The one who means well but could be the goddess that wipes out everything if she's wrong? The one who chooses the world's fate? And the plant itself, the belladonna, it's extremely toxic, deadly to most mammals, perfect end-of-world symbolism. But in tiny controlled doses, the plant can be used medically too. It's dangerous, unpredictable, but capable of messing with brain function. The Belladonna or Carol can kill or heal, depending on how it's used. Maybe when Carol drugged Sosha, it really did disrupt the hive signal, and this is hinting that Carol's onto something. This painting just doesn't seem random. It feels like a warning. The line between saving the world and ending it might be razor thin.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel...
And then there's kind of some fun stuff with all the songs throughout this episode. Another nice little touch to further paint the picture of what Carol and Manousos are going through.
I'm alright. Don't nobody worry about me.
And then at dinner, she's playing I Will Survive. She also sings Born to Be Wild when driving to the hot springs and It's Getting Hot in Here while she's there. All these songs are her way of kind of, I think, convincing herself everything's fine. She's better off alone. She was born to be wild. That's how humans are supposed to be, all that stuff. And it kind of feels like when you create your gym playlist or you have a pre-funk party songs list, it's just a way to hype yourself up and get in a different mental zone. And also at the gas station, the song Tarzan Boy plays in the background when she's doing the scratchers.
Do better next time.
There's a lot of lyrics in there like, does the message get to you? Or take a chance, leave everything behind you and come and join me. Also, I play alone while rushing across the forest. All these lyrics, they seem to be like her call to Manousos to come find her. Her Tarzan boy going through the jungle in the Darien Gap. Okay, and then a couple more last things. There's the license plates. El Fritz on Manousos' car. It could just be a cheeky little joke, the saying when something's on the fritz or it's fried, it's broken. And we've seen how the car, it's not the most reliable starting up. But there's also the fact that Manousos is clearly into electronics, the ham radio, for example. So he's probably fried a few things in the past with his little tinkering, so maybe it's just a representation of him. But there's also this whole other connection to this series, Pluribus, and a Twilight Zone episode, which I haven't really gotten into a lot yet, but apparently Vince Gilligan, he took inspiration from the show. And one of the actors who was in it was named Fritz. So this could just be a fun little Easter egg and callback to that show. And on Carol's Rolls Royce that she stole from the golf course, it says Ace Baby, which in golf terms, an ace is a hole-in-one. So it's kind of a cute little celebratory term. Maybe it's even reflective of Carol's golf skills. I mean, she did hit those windows pretty good. Or maybe we're just starting to read a little too much into all these silly details. But last thing, there's that whole Chekov's gun we talked about in episode 5, the gun that was in the cop car she had. Well, when Carol switches cars out to the Rolls Royce, we see her make sure to take the gun with her. This is the second time they've made a point to show it, so it seems this will be used at some point, and I don't think it will be on the wolves. Well, that's all I got. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, please ensure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more breakdowns. I'd love to hear your theories and ideas in the comments below. Special thanks to my channel members for throwing a little extra support my way. This means the world to me, and really it helps keep this channel alive and going. Until next time, toodles!